Today I wanted to talk about the case from the Blue Cliff record on beautiful snowflakes. This week we had a lot of snow here in New York, and this koan was something I was thinking about last week before the snow came, not because of the snow, but because there's a scroll that sits right behind your heads here in the Zendo, at least virtually, that was calligraphied by Harada Sogaku Roshi, who I talked about last week. So as I was talking about him last week, his beautiful snowflake scroll was right behind my head. And I think actually I'll start by showing you that. So let me just get it, and I'll return to it in a bit. So that was it. And like I said, I'll come back to it. So this is case number 42 from the Blue Cliff record. And there are many translations, but I find this one more accurate to the Japanese. And because as you know, my teacher is Japanese. So because I did these in Japanese, accuracy more than poetics is what resonates for me. So the case 42, Hokiji's beautiful snowflakes. This is the introduction. He talks independently, acts independently, and he trudges through the mire for the sake of others. She talks with others, acts with others, and stands alone, like silver mountains and iron cliffs. If you doubt and hesitate, you will be a ghost haunting a skull. If you stop to think, you'll fall into hell. Don't you see the bright sun shining in the sky and feel the cool breeze blowing across the face of the earth? Was any of the great ones of ancient times like this? See the following. This is the case, or the story. Koji was leaving Yakusan, which is a monastery, a place of practice, and a teacher at the same time. Yakusan let 10 Zen students escort Koji, who is a layperson, escort him to the temple gate to bid him farewell. And Koji pointed at the snowflakes and said, "Beautiful snowflakes, one by one, but they fall nowhere else." And then one of the Zen students, named the Zen student, said, "Then where do they fall?" Koji gave him a slap. The student said, "Koji, you shouldn't be so abrupt." And Koji said, "If you're like that and you call yourself a Zen student, then the god of hell will never let you go." The student said, "Well, what about yourself?" Koji gave him another slap and said, "You look, but you're like a blind man. You speak, but you're like a deaf mute." And then Setchō adds the commentary, "Why didn't you hit him with a snowball?" instead of questioning him. That's the most fun part of this for me. Then it's followed by the verse. Hit him with a snowball, hit him with a ball. Even the best will fail to reply. Neither heaven nor earth knows what to do. Eyes and ears are blocked with snow, transcendent serenity and purity. Even the blue-eyed old monk can't explain. Beautiful snowflakes, one by one, they fall nowhere else. So, obviously I was thinking of this week. And one of the things I love about the scroll behind my head is that these beautiful snowflakes that you see falling are actually Dharma, Bodhidharma. Let's see. Can you see them? So Hadada Roshi loved to paint these Bodhidharmas. And Bodhidharma is the blue-eyed monk referenced in the verse. But as you can see, these snowflakes have a particular shape, and that's the shape of Bodhidharma, which just has so many layers for it. Bodhidharma was our original ancestor who is said to have brought Buddhism from India to China. And in particular, I like that these are, they're falling very gently. But if you look at this one at the very bottom, it's reclining. Maybe even dying, I'm not sure, but certainly reclining. So these are the beautiful snowflakes that Hadada Roshi was envisioning when he was doing the scroll. And the other thing that I love about this one is that this is a scroll that he did when he was very old. And you can tell that his hand is not as steady as it was in his earlier calligraphies. And especially when you see the difference. So, one day I'll have to show you the different one. But it's exactly who he was at this time. An old monk appreciating beautiful snowflakes. So that's, I don't know, I find it very tender and sweet and also deeply profound. So again, the core is beautiful snowflakes, one by one, but they fall nowhere else. What is that? We are currently in the middle of a pandemic. This has been a hard year for us, for all of us, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but it's been a hard year for me. And I think we can very easily get into the habit of looking ahead. And that habit is particularly coming up right now as we near the end of 2020. We paced on this idea of 2020 is bad. 2020 was hell. 2020 was really difficult. But when 2021 comes in a few weeks, then everything is going to be better on that day, January 1st, 2021. All of this behind us, we're going to move ahead, shiny new year, COVID is going to be gone, the causes and conditions that cause our suffering, gone. I want to introduce the idea that thinking this way is a mistake. As tempting as it might be, especially this week as we enter the darkest time of the year, this is our life right now, right here and right now. in 2020, in the darkest time of 2020, at sort of the apex of the suffering of 2020, perhaps, as things are looking kind of grim. Here we are, beautiful snowflakes, one by one. They fall nowhere else. This is our life. This is our life. These snowflakes are our life. Where else are we going to live? If we get into the habit of thinking that when this is all over, or looking for that day when we're out of our life, then we're no longer fully present to the life that's right here. And you know, the life that's right here is all that exists. And it's kind of has some good qualities to it. For example, first of all, we get to live. So let's count that as a big bonus this year. Just that we're alive is a miracle. And we can feel that even more acutely when people around us are dying. You know, currently over 300,000 have died from the virus. And we're seeing numbers of deaths from other causes significantly higher this year as well. So the fact that we're alive is in of itself a miracle, just like that one snowflake gently drifting through the sky, falling nowhere else. We're alive. And because we're alive, we have the opportunity to practice. We have this precious opportunity to live our lives fully and to practice not just for ourselves, but for the benefit of others. What a gift this is. Just breath is such a gift, as this year has taught us. Just the ability to take a breath and to let out a breath. When I see people in the hospital who have COVID-19, I often see breathing like this. And they're afraid. Sometimes they're on their stomach to try to take the pressure off of their lungs. Right now, in this moment, take a minute and just close your eyes and let air go into your lungs. And let air go out. What a gift. This breath, one by one, falls nowhere else. This breath, one by one, is all there is. This breath is our one life, our one chance to fully be present. This breath, one by one, so important. It's so important that we use it well. We can never take it for granted, as tempting as it may be. And this thinking that this one day when our practice is perfect, this one day when this is all over, this one day when we're finally enlightened, takes us out of this beauty of one breath, one snowflake. As we see the falling snowflakes, so beautiful in their individuality, we also see it joining thousands and thousands and thousands of other snowflakes to create a blanket of white across the state this week. Also so beautiful, not just the individual snowflakes, but the way that all of these beautiful snowflakes come together seamlessly. Once the snowflake falls and joins the ground, can we find it again? So seamlessly absorbed into the universe of snowflakes that we can no longer see any separation, as if there ever was. This is our life as well. At the same time that this one precious breath individually illuminates the universe, this one breath is breathed with the air of every single other being in the universe. One breath united with every other breath. Layman Pang is the other name for Koji, the person who asked the question about the snowflakes. Koji is just, it's the name of, it's a honorific name for a lay person. Koji is, and then his name would have been Ho, and this is the Japanese way of saying it. He lived between 740 and 808, and he practiced with Setchō and then with Baso in China. He was a lay person. He was very influenced by the Dharma and decided to take his whole family and only practice the Dharma. And he could do this because he was quite wealthy. They could live independently. So he had his wife, his daughter, and his son. They all would go around practicing the Dharma with different masters. He's well known as a deeply realized layperson. Spent many, many years practicing very fully and authentically. And happened to stay with Yakusan, the teacher from this koan, for 17 years. So this moment where he's leaving comes after 17 years of practicing there. So of course the young monks want to go and see him out, and Yakusan allows them to do that. But leaving after 17 years, he sees the snow falling and asked one of the young monks, beautiful snowflakes, one by one, they fall nowhere else. The young monk doesn't quite get it. 17 years. It's said that his wife was also deeply realized, perhaps more so, because the Dharma came to her very easily, and even more so, his daughter. So this family practicing together is quite interesting to me. What were they doing? How did they do this? You know, what was their life like? How did they negotiate this? And it said even at one point that Koji got to the place where he realized that his own wealth was encumbering him too much. And so, you know, it was like holding on too much to his wealth. So he took it all and put it on a boat and put it in the middle of a lake and sunk it, letting go of it all. I often wondered what his family thought of that. But we do know from the sources that his wife and his daughter, it doesn't mention the son as much, were even more deeply realized. So I think they probably agreed. I don't know. We don't know that, but we can guess. He sank it all in the lake. We can speak independently. We can think with others. Everything that we do must be for the sake of others. When we speak or act with others, we're still totally independent. This is the interplay that we have to live our lives through. And this comes up in the beginning of the koan. So again, the very beginning, we talk independently, act independently, and trudge through the mire for the sake of others. This is pretty much sums up 2020, doesn't it? We live independently, all by ourselves in our apartments or our houses. We act independently, all by ourselves in our houses or apartments. And yet we trudge through the mire for the sake of others. This is our practice. Continuing to show up day by day, trudging through the mire for the benefit of others. We can never lose sight of this. We talk with others, act with others, and yet stand alone like silver mountains and iron cliffs. If you doubt or hesitate, you will be like a ghost haunting a skull. If you stop to think, you'll fall into hell. Don't you see the bright sun shining in the sky and feel the cool breeze blowing across the face of the earth? Was any of the great ones of ancient times like this? These days that we have, as difficult as they may be, are also full of wonder, full of promise, full of growth. These challenges that we face force us to show up in a way perhaps not available to us last year. The constant specter of the possibility that we might die has never been so acute as it is now, when every time we go out of our house, we have to face that again and again and again. And we can take this as daunting as it is, and we can also take this as inspiring, which it is. The preciousness of a human life is something that's so hard to understand. So we're in the middle of it. We're living it. And yet, one by one, this beautiful snowflake falls nowhere else. This is our one chance. This is it. This is our life. We must live it. Live it well for the benefit of others. Live it well. Alone, yet connected. Connected, yet alone. The truth of interdependence is really so stark and yet so far away for us right now. It was really hitting me this morning. as I was listening to the news and feeling that people feel so isolated at the same time that we're so connected. So we never have really noticed just how connected we are when our very breath, out of every breath of our mouth, may hurt somebody else. Our very breath may help somebody else. So when are we gonna wake up and understand that we're not separate? I think, life is teaching us this. Against every resistance that we may have, our life is teaching us. Everything that I do affects everything that you do. Everything that you do affects everything that I do. And railing against it and wanting to be separate and wanting to be independent and even locking ourselves in our houses doesn't change it. We're at the point now where we don't know how we're getting the virus, as if we ever knew. But at some points we thought we could understand it. Oh, I must have gotten it from this person. I must have gotten it over here. We don't know. We really don't know. I was talking with a family of somebody who came to the hospital from an assisted living facility, and they wanted to know where their parent had gotten the virus. And there's absolutely nothing I could tell them, or any of us can tell them, but they still wanted to blame somebody. So I think that's a very natural human inclination to want to blame, and impossible. All we can do is care for each other. All we can do. We can't blame because we don't know. Any blame that we create is made up, useless, and any anger that we feel isn't going to change the situation. So we have to take the utmost care in every single moment to live our life in such a way that we appreciate it. That beautiful snowflake falling one by one. So precious, so beautiful, and yet melting in an instant. This is what I wanted to say today. Thank you.